What have I just witnessed? Probably the greatest match of tennis ever played, in my opinion. Alcaraz and Sinner just literally redefining what I thought was possible. So I'm just going to break down what I thought of the match, what my reaction is, and I'd like to know what you guys think. So drop some comments down below. I'll be replying to some of the stuff you guys are saying. Let me first off by saying, in my opinion, some of the best level of tennis consistently throughout a 5-set match. In my opinion, comparable to the longest final in Grand Slam history between Nadal and Djokovic at the Australian Open. But I just feel the level was higher. I mean, Alcaraz coming back from 3 championship points down, fighting back all the way, playing over 5 hours, and then taking the tiebreak in just ridiculous fashion. I mean, literally playing a 10-point breaker and giving Sinner literally 2 points out of 12, hitting lines just for fun. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Every single point was a highlight reel. I mean, me and my brother were basically saying, like, literally, the people making the highlights for this video are going to have to literally just post the whole thing because it was that good. I was messaging Carousel after the match just saying how insane of a match it was. And we were both saying that, like, all of the other players are watching this match just thinking, how is this even possible? Like, the whole tour is here. These guys are just up here. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of Alcaraz and Sinner over the next few years, battling out in finals, if I'm honest. I personally thought Sinner was going to win the match in 4 sets. I didn't expect Alcaraz to pull off the victory. But, I mean, what players, what competitors. I'm going to look through some of the match stats now. I mean, first serve percentage, both in the 50s, so could have been a little bit higher. But obviously in the pressure points is where they served unbelievably. Break points, they both won 7 break points. Sinner actually won 1 more point in the whole match, which is crazy that you can win more points and still come off as the loser. And I think the one thing we saw from Jannik Sinner, he got a little bit frustrated at a call in the 5th set, and it shows how much he wanted it, because usually he's someone that doesn't show any emotion at all. But he really kind of got frustrated, you could tell, by not taking those championship points, as you would. And then, 1 or 2 calls goes against him, but he still managed to level his head, break back at 5-4 with Alcaraz serving for the championship, take it to a breaker. I think it was just loads of ups and downs, mental kind of resilience on show. And I just couldn't really believe what I was watching. It kind of felt like I was just watching a different sport. Now, I think a lot of people it's difficult for them to really appreciate the level of tennis if they don't play themselves. And as tennis players, you'll know when you play tennis and you understand how hard it is, how fast you have to be, the timing, you can appreciate the absolute insane level that these guys are playing. I mean, forehands like landing within this much of the line every single time. When you actually watch the match back again, you'll see every single miss is like this. They're barely missing in the net. Every single miss is like this, unless it's a shank or a bad bounce. And the margins that these guys are playing for so long without concentration dips is just absurd, in my opinion. And I'd love to know what you guys think. I'm going to speak more about the match specifically in a second, but I'd love to know what you guys think in terms of Alcaraz and Sinner's dominance, whether they're going to be able to sustain this insane level throughout multiple slams, because in my opinion, they're just better than everyone else. I don't think that there's anyone right now that can really compete with these 2 guys, as we saw with Novak versus Sinner. Novak just getting a bit dispatched by Sinner, just robotically almost. I think we're going to see them in a lot of more Grand Slam finals together, in a lot more Masters 1000s. I just don't see anyone necessarily pushing them to the same level that they push each other. Jannik Sinner's level is here. The way I explained it to someone, Jannik Sinner's level is here. The only player that can rise above it, in my opinion, right now is Alcaraz. I don't see anyone else matching Sinner's base level. But Alcaraz maybe has a slightly lower base level. He's lost to a couple other opponents in the last months. But when he really steps it up, I mean, especially on clay, he's just at the top of the game right now. And I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more of them. As we saw Alcaraz winning Wimbledon previously, he's going to go into the tournament with a lot of confidence, having won it before. Sinner hasn't won Wimbledon, so again, playing against that kind of more experienced opponent might be quite tricky for him. But again, I think if he's able to kind of adapt to the clay that quickly, not being, in my opinion, the most clay court oriented player, he's a very hard court oriented player, which will also suit him on grass, taking the ball early. So I'm very excited to see what he can do at Wimbledon, in my opinion. I'm just a bit in awe. That's why I wanted to make this video to kind of showcase my thoughts and what I was thinking watching the match. I actually watched the whole match from start to finish, all 5.5 hours, just completely, engulfed by, what I was seeing. And I'm sure a lot of you guys were as well, which is just, it's just mind blowing how well these guys were playing, to be honest, the whole time. I honestly thought Alcaraz had lost it. 40 love, I said, look, Sinner, too good. This guy's a joke. He's won in 4 sets. just insane. And then Alcaraz just pulls it out of the bag and he comes back, and then I'm thinking, okay, maybe he can do it. He seems to be pulling away in the fifth, really finding that level. He breaks early on Sinner. I thought Sinner, maybe having some physical issues, cramping a little bit in that fifth set. He's they've repeated the statistic that he's never won a match this long before, and I think it was about 4 hours in. Slightly strange stat that they're pulling out there, but essentially, I think that it kind of showed that physically he was going to deteriorate, or they thought he was. But what he showed was just insane grit to then break back with Alcaraz serving for it. But then Alcaraz just went to a different planet for the breaker. I mean, it's the best 10-point tiebreaker in a Grand Slam final I've ever seen. It was just unbelievable. And if you haven't already, go and watch this match. Go and watch it on highlights. Go and watch the full match if you want to. I mean, it was that good that you can go and watch this thing on repeat. I will probably watch it back multiple times. Sinner won 193 points to Alcaraz's 192. I mean, that's just like nearly 400 points of insane tennis. I mean, what a treat, to be honest. I did think that, it was reminiscent of the Nadal, Federer, Djokovic kind of rivalry. I think the level was higher. I don't think it had quite the same emotion. I think Rafa, Federer, Novak, they had that kind of edge about them, that kind of, real firepower. I feel like Sinner's very reserved into himself. Alcaraz gets the pump out, which I really enjoy, which is why I think he's a bit more of a fan favourite. But I think overall it didn't feel like there was as much of a rivalry. I feel like they have so much respect for each other as players, which isn't a bad thing, don't get me wrong. But I feel like tennis also is a gladiator sport, and sometimes that rivalry between two players is very important to kind of, just get the fans going, get the people involved, get a lot more viewers watching the sport. So, on that note, I think that could have been slightly better, but the level of tennis blew my mind. I think you're going to hear everyone talking about it for the next couple of weeks. That's why I wanted to make this video, to share my thoughts on the match. And I said, I don't know whether this is going to make me motivated or slightly depressed, because, I will never, ever get anywhere close to this level. It's like seeing, an alternate reality. And I'm obviously someone that dedicates my entire life to playing this sport. I'm a singles ranked player, I have doubles points, but it just feels like it's an incomparable difference between the levels. And there is. It doesn't just feel like that. But it's hard to kind of just understand how they do what they do. I play hours and hours every single day, 10,000 hours I probably put in over my lifespan. And I feel very human compared to what these guys are doing. I'm sure a lot of the top 100 players also watching this match thinking, I have to play against these guys. I have to compete against these guys on a regular basis. How? What am I going to do? I mean, the amount of respect, aura, if you want to call it that these guys are going to gain from the other players is going to be huge from this match. And I would begin to kind of, compare it to Rafa at the French. When people stepped on the court, they just felt like they'd lost already. I think against these two, from watching that match, they will gain some of that going forwards. I do think that the amount of players right now that can beat an Alcaraz, let's say, is higher in terms of beating the big three in their prime. But I think that, it's going to be really difficult to kind of compete with these guys over the next 5 to 10 years. And unless, the next talent comes out. I mean, look at João Fonseca. These guys are obviously insanely talented. So we'll see how they develop. Because, Yannick Sinner, Alcaraz, they kind of came out pretty recently. So I'm sure there'll be other contenders. But for right now, they're just levels ahead of everyone else. I think that kind of from watching the first two sets, Sinner just had that little edge. Alcaraz couldn't really find that momentum, that energy to kind of come into it. And then just pulled out a different gear. I think the physicality was a bit of a difference. Alcaraz is a much more physical player. And that's why I kind of bang on about why physicality is so important. I take my physicality very, very seriously. I pride myself on being a good athlete. But these guys are on a whole other level. They're dedicating everything that they've got to the sport. And I think Alcaraz learning from kind of playing from Novak in the French before, cramping, learning how to deal with those situations, becoming a much more physical player in general. That kind of really taught him something going into this match. And I think that he learned from that and was able to play this 5-set match without cramping, without having any physical issues, without needing the physio. I think that basically won him, his second French Open, second Grand Slam. Whether he can kind of continue that over the next 10 years with Sinner around, with other players rising, will be very difficult. But I think to win back-to-back French Opens as someone who's my age, from my perspective, that's just otherworldly. And I think, they had my respect before, but they've got it even more now. Let me know what you guys thought of the insane match. Whether you thought Sinner should have won, could have won. what he was thinking, whether you think these guys are going to be dominant over the next couple of years, and what you think potentially some of the other players on tour are going to react to watching that match, how they're going to react, what they're going to think. I mean, I think it was just overall just incredible. So let me know what you guys think down in the description. I thought I'd just make this quick video to kind of summarize my thoughts. I'll probably gather my thoughts over the next couple of days and touch on it on Instagram. So if you don't already follow me on there, just at Felix Mishko or at Tennis Brothers on Instagram. Go and check out some of the stuff I'm doing on there. But yeah, man, it's crazy level of tennis. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the roundup. Go and watch some highlights because now there's a real big hype around Wimbledon. Wimbledon's going to be a fun one. I'm going to be at Wimbledon. I'm predicting Alcaraz to win Wimbledon from watching that French Open final. But I think we're going to see an Alcaraz-Sinner final again. Wouldn't be surprised if it's just as good. So get your tickets if you're not already coming. But yeah, insane stuff. Nothing more to say.